God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, born and freeborn.
Lord, we just thank you. We give you all the glory for this day. Lord, we appreciate your blessings, Lord. We can never keep up with all that you do for us and watch over us. Lord, we're going to ask for special favor tonight on the men and women who protect this county and those who protect the state and protect this country. Lord, you bless them and their families. Lord, we're going to acknowledge that you are in control. You are here to help us, and you have never left us or forsaken us. So, Lord, we just stand in your glory and appreciate you in all things you do. So, in the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Next up on the agenda is the approval of the meeting minutes for February 1st, 2024.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from February 1st, 2024.
A second.
A motion and a second on the floor to approve the meeting minutes of February 1st, 2024. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. Next up is approval of claims and payroll.
Claims and payroll all in order.
Thank you, sir.
I make a motion to approve claims and payroll as presented by the Clark County Auditor.
I will second.
A motion and a second on the floor to approve claims and payroll as presented by the Clark County Auditor. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Next up is the approval of the agenda, or are there any amendments?
Yes, we had a request from the Plan Commission to add a rezoning matter, Plan Commission Resolution 3-2024, that they requested that we add tonight.
Okay, so I would suggest that we add that under the petition to vacate public way, because both of those are public hearings, correct, Scott?
Yes.
So we can do the public hearings back to back. Does that sound okay with you all?
Yep.
Yes.
So I would entertain that motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I'll second.
So there's a motion and a second on the floor to amend the agenda. Is there any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Next up is public comment. We have 4 people signed up for public comment tonight. First up is Mr. McClure. And as always, Mr. McClure, state your name and address for the record, and once you're complete, then 3 minutes are your time, sir.
Given the population in this room, if I don't get a positive answer to my very first question, I'm going to ask that people who are offended by certain language choose to vacate. James R. McClure Jr., as always, all lives matter. First, I'm just going to ask simply, will the commissioners agree that the ordinance that I'm questioning, specifically 15/2017, should be open for review, and that the language in it might be subject to constitutional challenge? Simple yes or no question, please.
Time is yours, Mr. McClure.
I'm asking any member of the committee to answer my question. I don't want to have to go through a long litany of constitutional cases and the vulgarities that are associated with them in public. If I can get you all to agree that we should seriously consider, if necessary, Scott and I sit down and have a discussion about this and what the actual constitutional vulnerabilities that this county is facing by placing restrictions on public speech.
And I think if you'd like to sit down and meet and talk about that, that could possibly be set up. So
That's all I want to know. I don't want to have to go through these court cases and repeat these vulgar items in public if I don't have to. But they are considered acceptable comments in public, and I believe that the phrasing in here violates accepted constitutional decisions by the Supreme Court, which is referred to as stare decisis, and therefore will not stand for any kind of constitutional scrutiny. And I understand Scott disagrees with me, but that would therefore place the county and myself as a taxpayer under possible financial vulnerability were someone to sue over these restrictions if you were to enforce them upon them during public comment. I am concerned about this not only as a citizen, but as a veteran and someone who has sworn to protect the rights of my fellow Americans. And again, as a taxpayer, I don't want us to be on the hook for a settlement that we shouldn't have to face with some changes to the text of this legislation. All right? then I shall refrain, Scott and I will say not have a meeting, and I'll refrain from going effectively nuclear at this stage, and we'll see how things work out. Thank you very much for your time, and let's go Brandon.
Thank you, sir, appreciate it.
That would be the public hearing.
So next, I've got two people signed up for roadway vacation. Would you like to speak now during public comment, or I will open up a public hearing and you can speak then? That's Mr. Guthrie and Don, I can't read the last name.
Guthrie.
Oh, there's two Guthries, I apologize. Would you all like to speak then, or would you like to go ahead and speak now in public comment?
I just prefer to wait till address them.
Okay,
The public hearing.
okay. And then next, Mr. Guthrie?
When will the public hearing, the only thing I wanna make a statement right now is that, I thought you needed 30 days, and my postmark on this was February the 1st.
Okay, so you have a question about that. So what we will do is when we open up a public hearing on those particular issues, you're more than welcome to come up and speak at that time. If that's what you'd like to do, I'm gonna give you the option of whether to speak now or wait till that issue comes up on the agenda.
Okay, yeah, I'm fine with waiting.
Okay, okay,
Nothing, no action will be taken before then.
okay, correct, yes.
Correct.
All right, thank you, sir, appreciate it. Next up is Ms. Curry.
Kelly Curry, who's the timekeeper here, if you don't mind me asking?
Me?
Okay, do y'all have a clock that we can visually see, like, Jeff City Council has one?
I just brought it up
Just,
today.
okay,
I
good,
just brought it
good,
up
I'm glad you're
today.
thinking about it, yeah, cause it makes me a little, I don't trust y'all.
It gives you some,
Okay, anyway, thank you all, good evening. So I did have a question, Danny, doggone it, I hate to, but the approvals of claims and payroll, is there any way to do the claims and payroll online? So that we can view, or whoever can do that, so we can see what these claims are before every meeting. So that's a question I have, would appreciate it, cause I'd like to know, I'm not a real numbers person, I try to be. Also, speaking, I have to piggyback on Mr. McClure, I think about meetings in the past, and I've been coming to meetings now, forever, much younger, the last half of my life probably. But it is more of a dialogue in the past than what we have now, and I understand time constraints, but there's not many people that come to these meetings, and if it's a 3-minute time frame, last fall I had a little problem with a paragraph that I couldn't finish because it wasn't unanimously approved. And that really irritated me, and I've thought about this for a long time. And when I recall my commissioners in the past and having a dialogue, we need to be able to ask questions, and maybe not necessarily in email. I'm not an email person, I'm a face-to-face person. And I want to know if you can say in the future or tonight, how do we access you all? I've been to the office a couple times to get some things this past week, and we have a beautiful office we paid a lot of money for. I don't know how many offices are up there. I don't know if each commissioner has an office. I know Scott does. Of course, Sabrina's at the front desk. But, how do we get these face-to-faces? Do we have to make an appointment? How do we get our questions answered? So that's something I would like for you all to respond to, if not tonight, at the next meeting. Because, we need to know. We have questions we want answers to. And it would maybe prevent some animosity that I know I felt. I feel like I'm living in some kind of authoritarian, tyrannical situation where all I can do is come up here and comment, and I'm not an emailer. I'm not going to email. I have emailed, but I can't do that. That's not how I address people in my life. That's not how I deal with business. That's not how I dealt with society. I deal face to face with people. I prefer that. So I like to look you in the eyes. So if you could address that in the future, I'd appreciate that. How do I have a face-to-face with you all, okay? All righty, thank you so much.
I'll just give you a quick response.
Okay.
All of our cell phone numbers are posted on the
Right.
webpage. You're more than free to text, call, set up an appointment.
Set up an appointment.
Yeah, because me personally, I work during the day, so if you were to call and say, are you free tonight at 6 o'clock? I would say, sure, or
Okay.
no, I can't. So I think that's why it's posted there. We are part-time commissioners, so
all right.
That's why they post them for public consumption. I mean, it's there for you to call.
Okay, so we can set up appointments,
Sure,
right?
sure.
Okay, but you two are maybe more available than he is during the day, maybe,
Sometimes.
okay. All right, just good to clarify, thank you.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Moving on to the new business portion of the agenda. First up is the petition to vacate a public way. This is a public hearing, so I will go ahead and open up a public hearing. And who is here to present on behalf of the vacation?
President,
And if you don't mind, when you get back, please state your name and address for the record, please.
Thanks. Thank you, Jason.
Yeah, if you have the sure. I'll give you one of mine once, for the record, yeah.
that's okay, thank you. Good evening, Jason Copperway with Paul Primavera and Associates, 301 East Chestnut Street, Corydon, Indiana, here representing the applicant. We're here today to request a vacation of a portion of Deerfield Station, a road in Deerfield Crossing subdivision, which is located just northwest of the Memphis exit on Memphis Blue Lake Road. The first page there is an aerial showing the site, and I've highlighted in yellow the area that we're requesting to be vacated. In 2007, the second replat of Deerfield Crossing subdivision was recorded, which is the next sheet. This plat dedicated the right-of-way of Deerfield Station, the road. However, the physical roadway, curbs, asphalt, etc., was not constructed at that time. And if a bond was in place at the time the plat was recorded, it has since expired. In 2018, my clients, Freedom Brothers Properties LLC, Mike Dalton and Buddy Coates, who are with me this evening, purchased the property with the intent to develop it. At the time, they did not realize that the right-of-way had been developed or had been dedicated since the roadway had never been constructed. They constructed the roadway at their expense, thinking they were building a private drive that could possibly be dedicated to the county at some point in the future, and thought they were keeping their options open for that. They constructed it in accordance with county standards without a surface code, but the road has never been accepted by the county for maintenance responsibility, remaining in effect a private drive. They also constructed a storage unit project on adjacent property. And you can see that recorded plat as the next sheet with, again, the area to be vacated in yellow. In 2022, my clients transferred some of their property to another LLC they own called The Point at Memphis LLC. Through that LLC, they began the approval process and construction of an apartment development between the storage units and Deerfield Station. Due to errors and miscommunication with their consulting engineer, the building to the north, what I'll call Building 1, was constructed in a location that made parking around the building difficult. The south building, Building 2, was constructed in full compliance with all ordinances and has no issues. In discussions with planning staff to remedy the parking situation, it was explained that the right-of-way for Deerfield Station was dedicated, even though it had not been accepted for maintenance, and that certain zoning rules applied, such as the following, and the next slide is an email from staff detailing those issues. The zoning rules: 1, parking could not be located within a dedicated right-of-way; 2, the drive could not be the width of the building; and 3, parking spaces and travel lanes could not be within 10 feet of the right-of-way. The staff proposed 3 potential solutions. 1, proposed parking that did not meet the standards of the ordinance, which would require a variance. 2, proposed parking within the right-of-way, which would also require a variance and additional approvals, such as from the commissioners and the county engineer. Or 3, make the roadway private and not public through amending the plat or a replat. My clients chose to pursue amending the plat because the road did not physically exist until they constructed it in 2018. The road has never been accepted by the county for maintenance. They did not previously know that it had been dedicated to the county, and for this allows them to construct the parking for Building 1 in a manner that best serves that building. In November 2023, they applied with my assistance for a replat of that portion of the second replat of Deerfield Crossing to remove the right-of-way of Deerfield Station as indicated and requested today. And the next 11/17 is that replat, again, that shows the portion to be vacated in yellow. This replat was heard by the Plan Commission. At the meeting, my clients offered a commitment in support of the replat that included the following provisions. 1, and that's, the commitment is the next set of pages as well. The owner will provide a public access easement over the former roadway location. The owner shall maintain the public access roadway in serviceable condition in perpetuity. The county may enter the premises to perform any required maintenance necessary in the judgment of the county and charge the owner for said work. Any changes to the location of the public access easement requires approval of the Clark County Plan Commission prior to being done, and the commitment would be enforceable in court. The terms of this commitment are continuing to be offered in consideration and/or as conditions of approval of the requested vacation. Further, my clients would offer as a condition of approval to finish the construction of the private access roadway in accordance with the county road standard. At the Plan Commission hearing, David Mahan, the Plan Commission's attorney, indicated that the only way a dedicated right-of-way can be changed is with a vacation petition and hearing before the county commissioners. The Plan Commission tabled the request for the replat and asked my clients to seek the vacation before any reappearance at the Plan Commission. This is why we're here tonight. You can see attached the petition to vacate, which I think you've already seen. We feel that this is a win-win for the county and our clients. The public continues to have use of the roadway without adding the county's maintenance burden, and my clients can treat the roadway like a private drive. The county can enforce maintenance on the roadway and charge the owners for the work. The resulting scenario would be no different than many shopping centers in the region, where private access drives serve as public circulation drives within the centers, which are maintained privately. Currently, there is no guarantee the road would ever be complete or maintained by the county, as there's no bond in place or any of those approvals. This ensures almost immediately that someone would be on the hook to maintain the road, again, in perpetuity. We're happy to answer any questions you have.
You said there were three options given. There was two options for a variance, is that correct?
There were, yes.
And did you all pursue that at all?
Well, there are currently 4 spaces at the end of the north building, 2 of which are ADA. One's an ADA door area and the other is an ADA space. There are 12 units in that building, and it's my client's fear that if there are only, say, 8 parking spaces available for 12 units, that there will be a lot of strife amongst the tenants. So the goal would be to have at least 12 parking spaces that you can designate for each unit. In order to get, you have 2 on the end, in order to get 10 in the front, really, the parking lot as constructed is the only way to do that. If we pursued those other 2 options, you would only be able to get about 6 spaces in front of the building, which would only need 8 total spaces, 10 including the 2 gored out areas. So that this was the best scenario for servicing the building correctly.
Ryan, do you have any opinions?
I did have a conversation with Mr. Dalton, and I believe Connie and I went out there and took a look at it. My concerns were, we also had a meeting one time with Jason and Amy, and Jason was there. Jason was the planning zone officer. Anyway, my concerns at that time were, we need to have 2 access easement or access points for that subdivision. That's going to eventually be a 200 plus lot subdivision in there. If you happen to have something where you only have 1 exit point, that becomes very detrimental to the property in case there's an emergency situation and that exit or whatever is damaged in any way or not able to access people. So that's a concern. I said I need to have 2 public access points. Right now with the right of way, I have 2. If you make it into a public access easement, technically speaking, you do have 2, but the transition from a public right of way to a private or a public access easement, I just am concerned in the fact that if something was to happen in between that time period, who's going to be responsible for maintenance of that roadway? That's the first thing. Second of all, the parking right now with a 90-degree parking, my opinion, there's going to be people that are going to have to pull out across 2 lanes of traffic to turn and drive away. That's a concern because right now there's a speed limit, yes, but there's nothing to stop traffic from going down there. So you're going to have people that are going to back out into a driving lane, consequently to leave that particular residence or that apartment complex. And the third thing is about right of way. If something was to happen, I mean, Jason has mentioned this and it wasn't discussed, so he's kind of addressed my concern, but if a timely fashion, if something was to happen out there and the roadway collapsed or whatever, we wouldn't have the responsibility to take care of that. Consequently, we don't have any way of actually making it happen so that the public isn't hindered from it until they get it done. So there's no, right now, the way I look at it, there's no way of, in a timely fashion for me to ensure. And yes, they are saying they'll do this, and I believe they probably will, but somewhere down the road, these two gentlemen and whoever are not gonna be there. And that's a concern, because I don't know when that will happen, but somewhere down the road, they're not going to be able to. So Jason has addressed that with some type of agreement, but it's just a concern. So you asked my concerns, those are my concerns. He may have addressed those to your satisfaction. I can't say that he has or not for me, it's just what I'm thinking.
I do know that when we went out there that day, there is a place for stop signs, and they had mentioned that they would be willing to put stop signs up to stop the traffic flow or to slow it down, which would help with people backing out. I'm just throwing out, I'm not gonna agree with it or don't agree with it, I'm just saying that was one solution.
And I guess I hear from your concerns is really quite honestly, if it's a private drive, although there's a commitment, there's really no enforcement action that we can take if something was done, number one. Number two, you can't have any enforcement on a private drive from the sheriff's department because it's not our property.
Right.
So if there's a speeding issue or there's a whatever type of issue, there's really no authority that the county or the sheriff's department has over that private drive.
Not that I know of. Also, right now, they have gates that are out there, and they use those when they were doing their development, and that's fine because it's a private road. If it is a private road, do they have the rights to close those gates down? Not that they would, but if they were to close it down, then I lose my access. And to be quite honest, if you were a fire truck coming down to a back lot back here, you can't see where that fire is until you get around the corner. If you drive past that entrance or drive into that entrance and then find out you can't get to that particular lot back here, they gotta turn out, come back in, come in another entrance. So I'm not saying it ever would happen, I'm just saying it could. And it's just a concern. So how to keep that from being my concerns is something that maybe we need to look at a little further, but
Well, another issue that I have, because we've had issues with private roads.
yeah.
People think they're county roads. We can't find when they were built or they're so old that we don't know. And so I don't want this to be a problem for, 20 years down the road.
Exactly.
For someone else.
So I think that was the idea of the commitment, that it would be recordable, it would be enforceable, it would be public information that's findable by anyone. And to Brian's point, if the road falls in, the county does have a right to go fix it and I don't know if it's a tax lien or whatever, but back charge the owner. So I think it has teeth, I think it's enforceable. And it's really a better situation than what you have today, because the county's not maintaining that road today. If it falls in, there's really no one on the hook to go fix it now either. So, I think it's a better scenario even than what you have today, which is what we tried to address. As far as I think the requirement, as far as commercial properties not backing out into roadways, that's relatively new. I'm not saying it's not a bad idea. It's relatively new in the UDO. There are scenarios all over town. In fact, one comes to mind on Charlestown Road where there are the trade shops there by Storage Station. All of those are commercial properties that back out into that road. That's probably a less traveled road than this would be, but it's currently the situation in other places in the county. Again, it's just a new function of the new UDO that would prevent them from doing this. And it's unfortunate if they could go back and fix the errors of the past, which were not necessarily their errors. They would like to do so, but they're in a situation now where they need to do something positive, and this was the best solution they could come up with.
And I think there's been some discussion on this, and I can't remember if I talked to Mr. Dalton about this or not. What is, so in the grand scheme of things, if there was a realignment of the road, would probably be the best scenario for everything other than the cost. Have we looked into that? Is that completely out of the picture, or moving that roadway to allow for a non-variance and allow for it to be a public right and allow for the parking? Is that not an issue? Is that not something that's doable?
It's obviously not the most ideal since we've already built the road.
True, fair enough.
But I thought a simple variance would be the simplest way to do it from the beginning, but unfortunately, it's that we have a 12 unit building there that you're telling me I'm gonna have 8 people fighting over 4 spots, so I'm at the opinion where it's like, I'd rather have no parking than have 6 parking spots. You know, we'll have to regroup and do something completely different in that case.
I think,
That would still require a similar process to this vacation of the roadway rededication. Not that it couldn't be done, but it would require some processes.
Anything else for that?
Well, concern is too, making this a public easement, or where I may be using the wrong term here. We're not talking about a public easement for 10 or 12 houses. We're talking about a public easement that affects 100+ houses. So, you know, it's not the case that we don't have, I mean, we really don't have too many of these public, or, you know, private roads only servicing a few houses. This is one that's servicing a lot more. If there could be strong enough assurances that the road would be maintained, that access wouldn't be hindered, this may be the best option right now. But I think it might be a good idea to look at some other options and look at other consequences of doing this that will also do the best to try to assure and ease the mind of the residents that this affects.
Understood.
It affects a lot more than just the apartment leasers. It affects individual homeowners.
Sure, and they do have another public access.
Yes.
This would just be this could be, I mean, it could become the main access, but it is a secondary, it could be a secondary access. But as far as the form of the document, you know, if Mr. Lewis wants to prepare it, or you want our clients to prepare it with Mr. Lewis's review, as far as, you know, the actual document that he feels like it's enforceable, then we have no problem. I don't know if it takes the form of a development agreement, a zoning commitment, whatever, we can, I'm sure we can arrange for that.
I just want to point out, it sounds like to me that there's some other options that haven't been pursued yet. Like, to me, it seems like pursuing a variance before the BZA would be an option before you do this type of action.
There's no, with the road where it is today and the building where it is today, there's no way to get the minimum 12 spaces. There's not a zoning issue with the spaces, it's a functionality issue with the spaces. There are spaces in front of building 2 that satisfy the zoning requirement for, I think it's 1.5 spaces per unit. So there's no zoning issue with parking. It's a functionality problem. You know, and having, whether people have to cross the driveway in order to park, you know, which again, it's just very difficult for tenants to do so. And again,
Some of those matters can still be brought before the BZA for different type of variances, can't they?
yes, but
That's what I thought.
But given the location of the building, we can only get about 8 total parking, not counting the ADA spaces. We can only get about 8 total spaces with the land that's available there outside the right of way to serve the building.
I'm saying, but you haven't pursued a variance yet before the BZA, correct?
No, but I mean, even if we were to pursue a variance, there's no physical way to make more spaces work.
The problem lies, they want 12 spaces for 12 apartments. Another way to get that is to vacate it and be allowed to back out onto this roadway, which is not allowed under the UDO now.
Yes, I mean, the way the parking is configured, people actually can back out of spaces and stay within the pad. Obviously, there's no way to force people to do that, but it is physically possible. In fact, my clients witnessed someone do that today. They can back without backing out into the road, but you can't get 10 spaces without paving the area that they've paved.
Any other questions for Jason? Okay. Seeing that this is a public hearing, is anybody else here to speak before or against this request? Yes, sir. Come on up. Yeah, come on up. Just state your name and address for the record, please, sir.
yes, my name is Michael Guthrie, and I've been involved in the development of the Deerfield subdivision for about the past 3 years. Did section 2, and we've done section 3A. And I would prefer to see the public access kept there. I think the development that, Mr. Coates and Mr. Dalton done is great development. It's nice looking buildings, and, it's an asset to the neighborhood. But I agree with Mr. Dixon here that there's issues by closing this off. Again, everybody's intention is that they will properly maintain it, but, you know, 20 years down the road, if they're gone, you know, will the new owner live up to that agreement, on it? And one thing you're doing is just by making the road a private with public access, if the parking is dangerous now, it doesn't change. It's exactly the same number of cars go down the street every day, you know, so I do think, and I've looked at the property, I stopped by and looked at it the other day, and Mr. Dalton was there. I do think they could do an angled parking with a back pull in, and you could get 9 spaces up front, on it there. And I still think clear the right of way on it. It might slightly go over, but I do think the proper way of doing it is with the variance, through the planning commission, rather than vacation of the road. Okay,
Thank you, sir, appreciate it. Is there anybody else here to speak for him? Yes, sir.
Don Guthrie, Louisville, Indiana. I was the person that sold them the property. They knew the road was there because they made me, have to take out that part of the price because I was selling it to them by the acre. They knew the road was there, and the road actually accesses that whole development. I'm a joining landowner, and I received this, on February the 1st. And when you're vacating a road, my understanding is that you'd have to notify everybody that uses that road that lives in that area. But once that road is a dedicated road, and that road's right now, if you didn't do nothing to it, it's gonna last the next 20 years. But there is still a top coat due. If I was you gentlemen, I would try to help those people out with where they misplaced their building. But to vacate the road, this road sets right across from Crone Road, and the congestion that's coming out of, Memphis Blue Lake Road now, I think they may eventually have to put maybe a stoplight there, you know. It's a growing area, since they've got the 3 lanes going out that way. That area there, I'd say it has to be one of your better growing areas, right? But that was a planned development, and now it's coming to fruition. To stop that right in the middle would be, I would think, would be insane. But when they bought the ground, they knew the road, and they knew this, they're gonna have to put the road in. I didn't get paid for that part of it, because they was gonna have to put the road in. I'm an adjoining landowner. There's other people that's adjoining landowners. But when a planned development, and they had it, and they've changed some of it, you have to do some of that. They originally planned it for like maybe a mini mart being out front, different things, I understand that. And I want them to access the best they can. I want them to make the most money they can make off of it. But if you take that road out of there, like I say, 5, 10, if these people sell it, they'll do whatever they want to. And I mean, it's a good road, and it accesses that whole community there. And it even gives people that's going to be living in apartments, if they have kids or anything, it's not the mostly traveled road, because most people go out the main entrance. But you have a least traveled road, you know, where they can buy a cigarette. I don't see any problem with, if they make half those spots back into spots, I don't even know if you need a variance on it. If you can see it in the picture, if you go out there and look at it, you can see kind of what they're dealing with, but there's no way, if I was the county, that I would vacate that road.
All right, sir. Thank you very much, appreciate it. Oh, no, you got
Do you have any other?
You have any questions for me or anything?
No, this is just your opportunity to speak for or against.
All right, appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir, I appreciate it. Is there anybody else here to speak for or against this? Any comments?
Can I say it?
Sure.
I just want to address because.
Please state your name and address for the record, sir.
The apartment complex. I just wanted to address because Mr. Guthrie said we knew, and I just want to be sure that our position, when I bought the property, it was presented to us that Clint, his son, would put this road in for us if we wanted him to at a discounted price. I had no idea it was ever dedicated to a county. As a matter of fact, Mr. Dixon and I have talked many times, and at the beginning, he led me to believe that if we lined it up with Chrome Road, at some point in time, they would take it over, and so we perfectly honestly thought, that's exactly what we should do. It would be the smartest thing to do is if we're gonna build a road back to our storage units anyways, we would want the county to take it over. That's why we lined it up with that. But to say that I took less money for it, no, that's not true. So all I'm saying is, yes, when we bought the property, we absolutely were given an option that if we buy this property, his son was gonna put the road in for us at a discounted price. That was good because we needed the road anyways. So that's the choice we made, and the reason, we had two options, because before the plat showed the road actually coming out south of where it does now. And I think Mr. Dixon told me then that if we did it there, the county would probably never take it because it needed to line up with Chrome Road. So that's why when we made the whole deal, actually, it was $150,000, if I remember right, to put the road in. When we made that deal, in our mind, Buddy and I's mind, and at that point in time, we had two other partners. But at that time, we all agreed that at some point down the road, because it was also told to us that the county would put the top coat on for us. So we thought, oh, that's even better. So if we need a road anyways, let's line it up with the county. At some point in time, the county's gonna do the top coat, and it helps us. So just so you know, starting out, that's how the whole thing started, and that's how the road even began. But at that beginning, we were basically given the option that if we ever want to turn it over to the county at some point in time, we can, but letting us know up front, if we do that, we need to line it up with Chrome Road, and we need to build it at county standards. And so that's what we did.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thanks.
Does this road have curbing? I haven't seen it.
Yes.
Does it have curbing on it? Okay, is there anybody here else that would like to speak for or against this? Yes, sir.
The road was already cut in, 90% of it was cut in when they bought the property, and the curbs and everything's been put in to county specs. And the reason it was because everybody assumed that it's gonna be a county road. And I did sell it to them acreage and have to take that road mounted to about an acre difference in the price.
All right, thank you. Okay, anybody else? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and close this public hearing. And before the commissioners today is a petition to vacate a public way. I will leave it to the commissioners to decide how they'd like to move forward.
Yeah, I still wanna know if they need to go before the BCA picture.
I mean, I have some questions and concerns. Whether you make it into a private road or a public road, it still doesn't address the fact that you have people pulling out into traffic. And when I look at this, although it may not be used as a primary entrance into Deerfield now, it's going to be, because this is the closest point coming off of 31 or 65 to get into that subdivision. So while the traffic may not be using it now,
It will.
if it became a public road and we took it over and you put the final code on there and it was a better road, you're gonna use it a lot more than what it's used now. So it's, the volume is only gonna increase moving forward.
Yes. Most definitely the fact that there's 100 homes being built behind the existing subdivision, so some of them are gonna use that, so yes, it's going to increase. whether all use it or not.
And then with the apartment,
Yeah.
apartments be built.
So I don't think the vacation really, I think it solves their problem as far as parking, so to speak, but I don't think it solves the problem of the traffic that's on the road. And as commissioners, I don't think we can guarantee the safety of people backing out of those parking spaces or the safety of the traffic moving through there that's gonna intersect with that traffic. You disagree?
No, I mean, that's a concern of mine.
Okay, all right, fair enough, okay.
I'll make a motion that we table this vacation for, future review of other options, and, that's my motion.
I'll second.
So there's a motion and a second on the floor to table the vacation of the, vacate the public way, for some consideration and discussion. Any more discussion here? Seeing none, all those in favor of tabling, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 3-0 to table. Thank you. Next up on the agenda is one that we added. This is the rezoning plan commission resolution 3-2024. And this is ordinance number 7-2024. Is there somebody here that's gonna be presenting on this? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So seeing that this is a zoning change, I will need to open up a public hearing, so please state your name and address for the record, and the floor is yours, sir.
Sure, thank you. We recently purchased 9.5 acres with the purpose of building a single-family home. Before, we did not know at the time that the property had previously, back in the 40s or 50s, been used as a dump and was zoned M1 for manufacturing. We went through and had a motion and a second to approve the zone change at the meeting. So we're here just to ask for final approval as far as changing that from M1 manufacturing to an AG designation.
If you look at the pictures in the back,
Yeah.
I mean, it's ag.
It's right in the
It's
middle.
right, it's surrounded by forest and fields.
And this came from this was a favorable recommendation.
Favorable recommendation,
Yes,
yes.
6-0 vote, so.
Okay.
there's no votes.
Anything else to add, sir?
No, sir.
Okay. Is there anybody else here to speak for or against this zoning change? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Kathy from Planning and Zoning.
Yes, ma'am.
I think there was a misunderstanding from the builder when he applied that as soon as it was approved with the Plan Commission, they could go right in and get the permit. So they had planned on getting the permit today, because it was approved last night, and they had ordered, foundation and all that to be dug and laid on Monday. So that, and those are things that usually have to be done way in advance. So through that miscommunication, this is how, and I appreciate you getting on the agenda.
Sure.
Putting it on the agenda for tonight, but that's how this ended up the way it is.
Okay, all right. Thank you for the clarification. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
They're my neighbors as well, and.
State your name, please.
Christine Worsley, and last night I said that as neighbors, their house, I'm all for it, so.
Sure. Okay, thank you, I appreciate it. Anybody else? Okay, so I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Before the commissioners tonight is ordinance number 7-2024, which is an ordinance approving an amendment to the Clark County zoning map on a favorable recommendation by the Clark County Plan Commission. This is to change the address stated in the ordinance from M1 to Ag.
Zoning.
I'm sorry, zoning, I apologize.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 7-2024, which is an ordinance approving an amendment to the Clark County zoning map on recommendation, on a unanimous recommendation from the Clark County Planning Commission for a zoning change from M1 to Ag.
A second.
So there's a motion and a second on the floor to approve ordinance number 7-2024, which is an ordinance approving an amendment to the Clark County zoning map on a favorable recommendation by the Clark County Plan Commission. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Congratulations, good luck on your house.
Thank you all very much. I greatly appreciate you allowing to see us tonight. Thank you all so much.
Absolutely. Next up on the agenda is the Anthem Insurance Administrative Services Agreement. Ms. Howe?
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
I'm Leanne Howe, I'm the HR director for Clark County. First and foremost, we have already began our benefit year and the whole Anthem contract was approved. Now we're doing the little bitty slices that are coming over as they're reviewed yet again. This is the Administrative Services Agreement. I'll draw your attention to page 27, which is more or less the nuts and bolts. The agreement's effective 1/1/2024 to 12/31/2024, at which point in time we're gonna do our renewal with them. We've saved $140,000 in administrative credits. We are guaranteed with Anthem no more than a 63-cent increase over the next 2 to 3 years in their administrative services per person, which is pretty good. And our broker consultant fee is $19 per person, which I've seen as high as $27. So we did good with this.
Awesome. Yeah, Leanne provided me with the contract to review the legal language and legal provisions, so they all comply with the standard legal language provisions. So, and I think as Leanne pointed out, the cost in this administrative service agreement under Anthem is like less than the previous Humana agreement with Humana, which is good. It's a reduction of cost.
I saw, Scott, you may have seen something different, that the signature page was only on page 19.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I didn't see the signature page. There it is, okay.
Yeah, usually we've got
Okay.
it tabbed there.
And then, just a quick rundown, overall, by moving to this plan, we have a 50% savings from this time last year to this time this year in our 4701 fund and health costs. We are about, and this is just for my own Leanne calculations, a quarter of our pharmacy costs. Our people are getting cared for, our plans are performing, and we're saving money, which at the end of the day, goes.
Awesome, thank you. And the
Yes.
verbiage on that is
Yeah.
on page 27, if you're looking for the verbiage.
I'll make a motion to approve the administrative services agreement with Anthem Insurance and with Clark County Government with the effective date renewal notice being January 1st, 2024, going through December 31st, 2024, with the amount being $19 per person.
Per employee,
Per
per month,
employee.
yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Did you throw, was there a guaranteed amount, or was there an amount that you threw out there at the beginning?
Absolutely, on page 27.
I thought there was a total amount you threw out there, maybe I
No, sir, we had
misunderstood.
100, with this, we negotiated $140,000 in administrative credits.
Gotcha, okay, that's what I was looking for, okay, I'm
Yes.
sorry, go ahead, Jack.
I'll second.
So there's a motion and a second on the floor to approve the Anthem Insurance Administrative Services Agreement between Anthem Insurance and Clark County Government for the calendar year of January 1, 2024 through December 31st, 2024. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Thank you. You up again?
Yes,
Lamb
sir.
Associates,
Yes,
Advanced
sir.
Time Contract for Human Resources.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
What I have before you, and the council did appropriate the funding for this last week, is the proposal for our advanced timekeeping platform to be added through our current ERP, which is Loud. This includes the implementation, 40 users, which are considered managers above users, as well as the cloud-based punching system that allows very clear visibility into how our workforce is performing. And you know, it really just provides the employees with a 21st century way to keep track of time and provides the county a checks and balances system. So I would ask that this contract go in effect. We will have the system built, and my goal is to implement this June 1st.
Awesome.
And we did our due diligence. We checked with other time and attendance systems as well as other ERPs and HRIS systems, because LOW is for proprietary software for government. No other system integrates with LOW, so.
Yeah, just for the record, because I spoke with Leanne about that, just to try to compare apples
We
to
went
apples. So she did reach out to ADP, GeoGov, UKG, Paycom, Oracle / PeopleSoft to see what their, provide quotes for that, because, it's not compatible with our local financial system. They said they couldn't provide this timekeeping system that's compatible with the low system. So this would be.
Go, because it's an ERP system,
ERP
I
system.
also went to Epicor, which is another ERP system, and sorry, we're proprietary too, we're not gonna start carving out our ERP, we'll sell it to you, but we're not gonna integrate, so.
So it looks like to implement the electronic timekeeping system, which includes tracking all the PTO time, vacation time, all that stuff, retirement, matters for retirement. So it looks like to implement this system, it would be $47,300, the initial upfront fee. And then going forward, it's the monthly charges are dependent on how many employees are there. So right now, based upon the current employees, but of course it fluctuates potentially from month to month when people leave, retire, when you're waiting to hire new people. The estimated monthly cost would be $1,200. Of course, that's dependent on the total number of employees. And as Leanne said at the last council meeting, they did appropriate money for this. So this would be a tremendous benefit to the auditor's office in tracking all of the employee time and so forth for payroll.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract with Blau Associates for the electronic timekeeping system in the amount of upfront cost of $47,300 and an estimated monthly cost per employee of $1,200.
I'll second.
So the $1,200 is not per employee.
No, it's not per
That would be
employee.
total.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a motion and a second on the floor to approve the contract with Lau Associates with a one-time fee of $47,300 and an anticipated $1,200 a month for services moving forward via, employees for every month. Any more discussion? Only thing I have to say is you did a great job getting the council on board with this. I think they finally realized how huge this is for us to be able to track comp time, PTO time, and really allow them to look into the future to kind of see what liabilities lie ahead, and I think we've discussed that before, so I just want to give you kudos for that.
Thank you.
Okay, any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Lynn. Next up is the, with Tower Pinster AML pay application for the Judicial Center. That's tab number 5.
Yeah, so this looks like, application certificate for payment number 8 for the, Judicial Center renovations to AML. It's certified by our architect, Tower Pinster, $136,312.61 is the payment, for the work completed, since the last payment to AML.
So I'll make a motion to approve the, payment to Tower Pinster, for payment number 8 in the amount of $136,312.61.
I'll second that, but it is a payment,
AML.
AML to AML.
Yeah, it's AML, just certified by Tower Pinster
Yeah.
as our
Yeah.
inspector, as the architect, to make sure to certify the work has been done according to the specs.
So there's a motion and a second on the floor to approve the certificate of payment number 8 with a check payable sent to AML for an amount of $136,312.61. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Next up, we still have the same idea with Tower Pinster AML interior renovations change order for the Judicial Center.
Yeah, so the good news is that AML's been very good, so we've had one previous change order, which was a reduction of $1,264.32, so this change order is another reduction, which you don't see a lot, usually change orders are increases, so this, second change order is another reduction in the contract price, it's to reduce the contract amount by unused contingency allowance, so this change order reduces the contract price, reduces the total amount of $67,383 of unused contingency, which is good. So they're actually below the contract price with the 2 change orders.
I'll make a motion motion to approve change order number 2, which is actually a price reduction and a contract price in the amount of $67,383.
I'll second.
So the motion and a second on the floor to approve change order number 2, which is a reduced contract amount by unused contingency allowance in the amount of $67,383. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. Next up is a AML certificate of substantial completion for the Judicial Center.
Yes, so, pursuant to the contract, from our architect, Howard Pinkster, this is, the certificate of substantial completion of the interior renovations at the Judicial Center. So the date of substantial completion is February 2nd, 2024. So it's substantially completed. There are some punch list items in the certificate of substantial completion. If you notice there's like punch list items. So it looks like the cost estimate of work to be completed or corrected in the punch list is an estimated cost of $15,000. So the work is substantially completed, subject to punch list items. So Howard Pinkster will work with them on finishing up the punch list items, but under the contract terms, we hope to accept and sign off that the work has been substantially completed.
And it's just accepting this, correct?
Accepting this, yes, pursuant to our architect, who is our contract administrator and inspector for the project.
So I make a motion to accept the certificate of substantial completion. It's document number G704-2017.
I will second.
So there's a motion and a second on the floor to accept the certificate of substantial completion, document number G704-2017. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries 3-0. Next up is the amended county bridge inspection contracts.
Yeah, so I'll let Brian chime in just a second, but just, just to refresh everyone's memory, the required, cycle of bridge inspection with NDOT, and you go through their process of selection of consultants and so forth. So we went through that process, we approved USI consultants in that selection process, over the, period from 2024 through 2027. So we originally approved a single contract for those years with the different cycles and phases. That total amount as approved through NDOT was $307,886.87. They extend the contract. It goes through their final approval process. Our county engineer, Brian Dixon, has informed us that NDOT came back, and I don't, you can probably explain this, but they wanted to break that into 2 separate contracts, the same total amount, but they wanted phase 1 of 2024 as a separate contract, and then NDOT wanted the years 2025 through 2027, phase 1A, 2, and 2A in a second contract. So they just broke the $307,886.87 into the first contract for phase 1, 2024, $155,212.24, and then the other phases from 2025 through 2027, they broke that down for $152,674.63. So it's the same as what we approved. They just wanted it in 2 separate contracts with the different phases. I don't understand why they wanted to break it down into 2 contracts.
NDOT had some administrative issues up at their office, their main office. They could not get the 2024 to 2027 contract approved, initiated in a timely fashion. So they took the first year, because our inspection has to be done the month of March. If we don't, we and NDOT are in jeopardy of losing funding for bridge inspections in the future. So, I told them, I said, I need my authorization to proceed, and they said the only way we can do that is to move the phase 1 inspections to the previous contract that we had for 2022 to 2023, and they put an addition onto that. So it was administrative things, and they just want to split. So this is to finalize things. Like I said, contract with USI exactly stays the same. The only thing is administratively, they're going to change the contracts up there to have the one go from 2022 to 2024 and 2025 to 2027.
Got it. This is what I was on via email the other day, correct? Where you gave me the heads up.
You have e-sign thing, so yes, and you've done that, everything's fine. They just want a hard copy signed by everybody, I think it's on there.
So I'm not sure I'm gonna say this right. So I just make a motion that we accept the contract, the LPA consulting contract for county bridge inspections, phase one.
Yeah, we're actually, you can do it in one motion, it's two contracts.
Phase one for 2024 in the amount of $155,212.24. And then the amended LPA consulting contract for county bridge inspections for 2025 to 2027 in the amount of $152,674.63.
That sounds correct.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
So there's a motion and a second on the floor to approve the LPA consulting contract for county bridge inspections with USI Consultants. The first one being the cycle year 2024 in the amount of $155,212.24. The second one being from the cycle years 2025 through 2027 in the amount of $152,674.63. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Next up is the landfill slurry wall construction contract with the wind pass trenching.
Yes, so to remind everyone, for the landfill slurry wall, also called buried wall, different terminology is the same. So previously, there were two bidders for that, Geo Solutions and DeWind One Pass Trenching. Geo Solutions was originally the low bidder. We had awarded that bid to them, subject to review, working with the consultant engineers to make sure that their bid was compliant with all the bid specs. So over the last few months, when they've been working with the consultant engineer, trying to get the contract implemented, they are not able to comply with the bid specs. There's issues there with them trying to request changes in the bid specs, which we can now allow changes in the bid specs. So they have agreed, they haven't signed a contract yet because they're not gonna be able to honor the bid specs. They're not gonna sign the contract with us, so then we're going to the second bidder. There's only two bidders. So the second bidder is DeWind One Pass Trenching. So to make sure that the slurry barrier wall project moves forward, we would need to award that bid and sign the contract, accept the contract with DeWind One Pass Trenching. So their amount was $2,635,200 for the slurry/barrier wall at the western portion of the landfill.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract between Clark County Board of Commissioners and DeWind contractor for the west barrier wall construction in the amount of $2,635,200.
I'll second.
So there's a motion and a second on the floor to approve the contract between the Clark County Board of Commissioners and DeWind One Pass Trenching for the west face barrier wall construction project in the amount of $2,635,200. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Next up, under tab 10, we have some appointments for 2024. And I would entertain a motion to approve all of those. If you'd like to go down the list and name them, and we can approve them all at one time.
For the sake of our audience understanding what appointments we are making, I'll go ahead and proceed to read the list. Animal disease co-coordinator is Mr. Mike Edel. Board of Zoning Appeals is Guy Guernsey and Kim Baker. Clark Floyd Convention and Tourism Bureau is Mr. James Book. Emergency Management Advisory Council is Jack Kaufman. KIPTA is Jack Kaufman. Property Tax Board, Pat Glossback and Susan Riley. River Hills Economic Development District, Perry Smith Michael Killen. Workforce One Board, Jack Kaufman. These others are kind of automatic appointments. The ADA Compliance Officer is Scott Lewis, County Attorney. The 911 Fiscal Board, Brian Glover. OSHA Coordinator, Tim Cochran. Redevelopment Commission is Connie Sellers, Brian Glover, Jack Kaufman. And on the Solid Waste Management District is Connie Sellers, Brian Glover, and Jack Kaufman.
Make a motion to accept those. Oh, you just read it.
Okay. I'll make a motion then to accept, appointments as listed.
And I'll second.
So this motion and a second on the floor to approve the appointments for 2024 as listed. Do I need to read those back for the record?
No, he put it in the,
Okay.
he read it for the record, so we get it listed.
Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 3-0. All right. That covers everything under new business. Any other old business? Moving on to reports, department heads and elected officials. Mr. Auditor, anything tonight? Thank you, sir. Mr. Attorney?
Nothing.
Okay. Mr. Dixon?
Nothing.
Nothing. Major Mobley?
Thank you, sir. Just the Clark County inmate population is 422 total inmates with 51 federal inmates. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other elected officials or department heads? Mr. Lau, anything? Is that Judge Blickfield? Judge Blickfield, anything tonight?
No, thank you.
Any other business? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
So there's a motion and a second on the floor to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0 to adjourn. Thank you all very much. We are adjourned.